Thank you, Laura. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kathy Madden, a first-year PhD researcher in the School of Education at Ulster University in Northern Ireland. So I would like to begin my presentation today by drawing your attention to this realistic in-sessional EAP, an AI classroom-based image, which was generated by ChatGPT in a matter of seconds. This demonstrates just how rapidly AI is advancing, which then brings me to my research, which is examining how AI is rapidly reshaping the work and professionalism of in-sessional EAP practitioners in higher education institutions across Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. So as an in-sessional EAP practitioner myself, I have seen firsthand how AI is reshaping our day-to-day work, expectations, and sense of professional identity. So firstly, I would like to begin more broadly by making you aware of my overall research questions for my PhD research before narrowing down to my specific focus for today. So research question 1 asks how in-sessional EAP practitioners' professionalism is being reshaped by AI. So this overall umbrella term of professionalism then comprises 3 sub-research questions. So the first one is on professional identity, the second one is on pedagogical decision-making and professional practice, and the final one is on ethical considerations. These are micro-level questions so far, as they focus on the individual EAP practitioners. Then we move to the meso level in research question 2, which is focusing on the institutional AI policies, support, and training, before moving on to the slightly broader macro level question in question 3, which is focusing on what pedagogical recommendations and AI guidance model can be derived from practitioners' insights to help guide pedagogically sound and ethically responsible AI teaching practice in the island of Ireland. However, my main focus for today's presentation is on sub-research question 1, based on how AI is affecting the professional identity of the practitioners, particularly within their third space positioning. So professional identity emerged as the area that I found most compelling during my literature review, as it seems to sit at the centre of many of the challenges that the practitioners are currently facing. So today's presentation will begin more broadly, first of all, and by building up the context of my research before delving into the specifics of professional identity and the third space. So let's build up the context. So due to globalization, internationalization, and diversification, there is an increasing need for in-sessional EAP provision. However, at the same time, due to the rise of AI, practitioners are now facing new expectations, ethical pressures, shifting professional identities, and pedagogical practices. So ultimately, we could say that EAP and AI are global phenomena. So why have I chosen to focus on this specific research context? So for Northern Ireland, as you can see from the figures on the slide, international student enrolments reached a 10-year high in 2021 to 22, which demonstrates the growing importance of internationalisation within higher education. But more recently, however, the picture has become more complex. So student numbers have declined, which has been possibly influenced by factors such as visa policy changes and restrictions on dependents. But at the same time, recent visa application data suggests signs of recovery. So what this could tell us is that Northern Ireland is currently operating within a changing and somewhat uncertain international education environment. But despite these fluctuations, the UK remains the world's second most popular study destination and still holds significant global prestige. UK transnational education is also gradually growing. So moving to the Republic of Ireland, it is becoming a major hub for international students in Europe. with over 40,400 enrolments in 2023 to 24, which was the highest on record. This could be due to affordability, post-study work opportunities, and policy shifts in the main 4 traditional powerhouse destinations. So the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland are ideal comparative contexts due to their differing AI policies and policy frameworks between the EU and the UK, as well as their differing credit-bearing contexts. However, they are similar in that they both have inconsistent AI guidance within the universities, which could result in identity instability and role ambiguity. But it is also important to note that even though Northern Ireland student numbers are currently experiencing a dip, this can still be viewed as a strength for my research, as it makes the contrast between the two contexts more obvious, which can make my research more interesting and valuable, as it documents the contrasting professional and policy contexts. So moving to the key findings of the literature, we can see here that there is a growing body of general AI education guidance. So for example, from UNESCO and OECD, but there is only one which is specific to EAP. However, this AI assessment scale only focuses on assessment and not broader issues such as professionalism or pedagogical practice, nor does it focus on specifically in-sessional EAP or third space roles or professional identity. Therefore, practitioners lack identity-affirming professional infrastructure. So essentially, we could say that AI is changing the rules of the game, but the practitioners have not been given the rulebook. So this then leads directly to my research gap, which is that there is no specific in-sessional EAP policy, guidance, or framework focusing on professionalism. This could then lead to identity insecurity, inconsistent role expectations, and a lack of professional recognition. So now let's move on to the heart of my presentation today by focusing on the pressure on practitioners' professional identity. So in-sessional EAP practitioners occupy a somewhat unusual position within higher education. This is called the third space. So this is a position between the academics and the professional services within the universities. And this positioning can maybe result in a lower status, marginalisation, and limited recognition as a full profession. This third space position is even further deepened by university partnerships. So for example, the partnership between Queen's University Belfast and International Student Centre. Although practitioners here are employed by INTO, they work directly with the Queen's students within the Queen's classrooms and within the Queen's academic structures. So as a result, they must navigate these differing institutional cultures, expectations, and dual AI policies without ever fully belonging to any one academic community. So their professional identity is then further complicated by contested job titles. So labels such as support, teacher, or tutor can diminish perceived expertise and imply a secondary role to lecturers. This is quite complicated for me, as my colleagues and I often refer to ourselves as teachers because our official job title is an English teacher. And this is terminology commonly used by other EAP staff within the organisation who are not a part of the in-sessional team. However, I do increasingly feel that our role extends far beyond language teaching. Therefore, for my study, I have chosen the term practitioner, as I feel that it captures our broader professional role beyond teaching, since we work within the university environment, liaise with the students' lecturers, and collaborate with many different academic departments. However, this terminology may change as the research begins to investigate the EAP practitioner's identity. And lastly, the AI guidance across Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland prioritises ethical and responsible use of AI, but existing guidance is usually quite vague, inconsistent across institutions, and predominantly student-focused. So overall, these long-standing professionalism and professional identity issues are now amplified by AI advancement, which is why it is so important to focus on this aspect within my research. So having discussed the existing challenges surrounding professional identity, I would now like to consider how AI is reshaping the traditional role of in-sessional EAP practitioners. So historically, teachers were often viewed as transmitters of knowledge, but later with the rise of communicative language teaching in the 1970s, the emphasis then shifted towards teachers acting as facilitators who guided students' learning and communication. Then fast forward to today, AI tools become increasingly capable of generating text, providing feedback, checking grammar, and creating learning resources. Therefore, in-sessional EAP practitioners are no longer simply providers of knowledge or learning support. Instead, they are increasingly becoming described as intelligent curators who help students navigate, evaluate, and effectively use AI alongside human wisdom. So this transformation challenges the traditional relationship between teacher, knowledge, student. And in this case, AI tools are reshaping in-sessional EAP practitioners' thinking about lesson planning and teaching. This is a demonstration of identity reconstruction in real time. So I will now turn to two theoretical frameworks which help us understand these identity shifts. So firstly, we have Shulman's framework of teacher knowledge, which emphasizes that teaching is a knowledge-rich profession built on many different aspects, such as content knowledge and pedagogical content knowledge and knowledge of educational contexts, which you can see in the diagram here. However, AI integration now expands this required expertise to include ethical AI literacy and navigation of AI policies and new facilitation rules. This then extends professional identity beyond traditional EAP content. This then leads on to my next theoretical framework, centering on EAP practitioners as AI facilitators. So moving on to Vygotsky's zone of proximal development, this focuses on what a learner can achieve alone and what they can achieve with scaffolding, typically from the teacher. But this diagram here shows how learning is shifting from teacher-led scaffolding to include AI tools as co-scaffolders. And it could be inferred that AI is becoming the expert knower, which may shift the EAP practitioner's traditional practices and their professional identity. They must now try to comprehend where they stand and how they can effectively work alongside AI, which is made even more challenging by their third space positioning, as they are already dealing with hybrid professional identities. So overall, these theoretical frameworks highlight that AI is not simply a pedagogical tool, but a force that is actively reshaping professional identity and third space practice in sessional EAP. So up to this point, we have focused mainly on the challenges of the third space positioning, especially as AI adds even more complexity. But it is important to recognize that it's not only a site of tension, it can also be viewed as an opportunity. So since practitioners are not restricted to specific academic departments or disciplinary boundaries, this can create a freedom to experiment with AI. And it may create pedagogically innovative opportunities and an element of freedom to define and exercise professionalism, which may then also positively impact the practitioner's professional identity. Therefore, the aim is not simply to identify problems, but also to uncover opportunities. So why is this research needed now? So simply put, AI adoption is moving faster than our understanding of its impact on in-sessional EAP practitioners' professionalism. There is also currently no research examining AI and in-sessional EAP professionalism in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. There is also no dedicated AI framework for this context. And finally, AI appears to be intensifying existing third space challenges. So this then leads to my central problem statement that there is an urgent need to comprehend how AI reshapes in-sessional EAP practitioners' professional identity and how they perceive and adapt to AI so that ethical and pedagogically sound AI integration can occur. So this then brings me to my research participants. So I plan to recruit approximately 20 in-sessional EAP practitioners through the use of purposive sampling from 4 higher education institutions in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, with 5 participants from 2 institutions in each region. So then moving to my research methods. So this research will conduct a 2-phase qualitative approach. The first phase, as you can see in a little yellow box here, will involve semi-structured narrative-infused interviews, which is the most relevant aspect for today's presentation focus, as it will explore the practitioners' experiences and stories, which will help us to comprehend their professional identities. This study will also use short scenarios called vignettes to explore how the practitioners will respond to AI and ethics-related teaching scenarios or teaching situations. And then finally, in phase 2, is a thinking aloud method. And this will allow participants to review an AI-generated lesson plan and talk aloud their thoughts as they evaluate it. So this captures their pedagogical decision-making and professional reasoning. So then here in this table, this illustrates how each method contributes to answering the research questions. So as you can see, all 3 methods inform research question 1 on professionalism and research question 3 on developing the AI guidance model, while the remaining questions are addressed by specific methods without overlap. And as you can see, the semi-structured narrative-infused interview will answer sub-research question 1 on professional identity. However, it is expected that each method will naturally capture a different dimension of identity. So the narrative interviews capturing identity narratives and professional self-understanding, the vignettes capturing ethical positioning and professional values, and the thinking aloud tasks capturing professional reasoning and decision-making. So when combined, these methods allow professional identity to be explored not only through what practitioners say they believe, but also through how they respond to dilemmas and make pedagogical judgments. So although I haven't collected the data just yet, I would like to share some potential findings. So I expect that AI will amplify this existing third space position, including or third space attentions, including role ambiguity, contested identities, and feelings of marginal status. At the same time, professional identities may be reconstructed, with practitioners moving beyond traditional knowledge provider roles towards becoming AI facilitators or intelligent curators. As a result, professional expertise is likely to expand to include areas such as AI literacy, ethical awareness, and the ability to navigate institutional AI policies. However, practitioners may respond to these changes in different ways, ranging from enthusiasm to resistance. Some may experience identity insecurity or imposter feelings as they question whether they possess the necessary expertise to meet evolving expectations. But importantly, the third space might also create opportunities. Its flexibility and cross-departmental nature could enable greater innovation and experimentation with AI, potentially strengthening professional identity rather than diminishing it. So overall, I anticipate that AI will not replace in-sessional EAP practitioners, but will accelerate the renegotiation of their professional identities within their already complex third space position. And just to end off, this research will be significant as it will inform the development of in-sessional EAP and AI and professionalism guidance, institutional policy development, and support practitioners to refine professional identities, feel more confident, protect their expertise, and deliver high-quality education alongside AI. So overall, as AI reshapes higher education, my research will ensure that no practitioner or student is left behind. And finally, my next steps are then to begin my data collection. I am doing this currently. I will then analyse this data come September, October. Then in phase 2, my data collection will begin in November to December. And then I will begin to analyse this in January to February 2027. And then in March to May 2027 is the cross-method synthesis and triangulation. So I look forward to advancing each of these steps and contributing to a deeper understanding of AI's impact on in-sessional EAP practitioners' professional identity. And so here are lots and lots of references. And finally, thank you very much. Any questions?